Good July 1st morning to you. It is Friday. We are getting ready for the upcoming holiday weekend, but we do have some breaking news on the tropics front. You can see there below me that tropical storm Bonnie has officially formed. We've been tracking this disturbance down in the southern Caribbean for days and days, and it's just been an unorganized area of storms, but it has finally met the criteria for a tropical storm. Now, I just want to show you the list really quickly to show you where we stand. We have had our two first named storms here. Alex and Bonnie. Alex formed earlier in June. Bonnie formed, of course, the first day of July. The next name is Colin, and right now it doesn't look like there's really a Colin on the horizon. So we are on our B storm. I was also looking back at some of the data here, and on average, when you go from 1991 to 2021, the average B storm or second name storm forms on July 16th. So we're about 2 weeks ahead of our average schedule for our B storm, but that's where we stand as of right now. Here's where it's at, way down there in the southern Caribbean, and it is quite rare to get a storm to form here in this part of the hurricane season. I'm going to talk more about that in a second, but you can see there, Tropical Storm Bonnie well to the south of the Gulf of Mexico. It is not headed this direction. It's never even going to get close to the Gulf, and it's actually about 1,500 miles south of New Orleans or south of the mouth of the river. Now, the reason this was upgraded to a tropical storm was because we were waiting for a closed circulation to form. Well, that closed circulation finally developed. The hurricane hunters went out there this morning and they did find that that circulation was closed off. And you can see the hurricane hunters are still out there flying in Bonnie as we speak. It is a 40-mile-per-hour hurricane, or a tropical storm rather, moving west at 20 miles an hour, so it slowed down just a tad, and that likely did help it to organize a little bit more. It was originally moving so fast that those winds just couldn't wrap around on the southern side, but it has now done so. I will show you the track here. It's going to continue to head west into Central America. It'll move into at least the mostly rainy part of it will move into Nicaragua later today into tonight, with landfall likely late tonight. And then notice it's in the Pacific and could actually re-emerge and strengthen in the Pacific as it gets off the coast of Mexico by early next week as a Category 1 hurricane. Anytime a tropical system crosses basins, meaning from the Pacific to the Atlantic, or in this case the Atlantic to the Pacific, there's always the question, is it going to maintain and keep its name? Well, it depends on a couple of things. In this case, this could be one of the rare instances where the system keeps its name. The reason for that, it might not lose its center of circulation. So what usually happens here is the tropical system will cross a bigger part of land and the center of circulation will dissipate and you'll have just the remnants of it, and then it'll reemerge and redevelop in a different basin. That would get a different name. Well, in this case, it's going to be traveling down here in this thin strip of land near Costa Rica and Nicaragua's border. That's a very, very thin stretch of land, and the surface circulation will likely survive this encounter with land and reemerge. Well, as long as it continues to have that same low-level circulation, it will continue to be Bonnie. So it does not happen very frequently. It's actually extremely rare to get a system crossing over and keeping its name, but it looks like in this case, Bonnie will likely reemerge in the Pacific and keep its name. So a new name is if its circulation dissipates. Well, in this case, we're thinking the surface circulation probably survives crossing the land, and yes, we do keep Bonnie. Once again, just to reiterate how rare it is to get a tropical system forming in late June or early July, they're both about the same in this part of the Atlantic. It is quite rare. You can see there, lots of them form in the Gulf of Mexico, lots form in the northern Caribbean, but for them to form this far south in the Caribbean, there's only been a couple that we've ever recorded, and they were about the same location, so it is somewhat of a rare instance for Bonnie. So that's what's going on with Bonnie. It's heading into Central America. I do want to talk about some tropical features closer to the United States that could bring impacts and will likely bring impacts today and tomorrow into Louisiana. Now, this is going to be for southwest Louisiana, and I want you to look. That's live radar is what you're looking at there. And we were originally calling this Invest 95. It's really no longer an invest because it's moved inland and it no longer has a chance to become a depression. Regardless, impacts haven't changed, and remember, you don't need a named system to get big impacts. So what we're going to be watching is this flood potential for southwest Louisiana. It's already started down here. You can see from Beaumont to Lake Charles to Lafayette, lots of heavy rainfall, especially the closer you get to Lafayette. So that's going to be the primary problem zone today and going into Saturday. Now in southeast Louisiana, notice there are some storms that are firing up, but they are isolated in nature. It's not a widespread flooding problem. Yes, these downpours moving over areas like Houma and Thibodaux this morning are producing heavy rain, but they're isolated. They're not going to cause widespread problems that are prolonged throughout the day. Whereas southwest Louisiana, you will have that threat for that flooding potential. I want to walk you through Precision Cast here with this rain event ongoing today and tomorrow. Notice where you just can see the persistent rain through today. Now, there are eventually going to be some breaks in the rain for southwest Louisiana, but it adds up over the next couple of days. Notice more rain tomorrow there. Whereas if you watch southeast Louisiana, notice we'll have some storms this afternoon for sure with some heavy downpours, but they eventually dissipate, and they're isolated in nature. They're pockets of heavy rain. Nonetheless, that can lead to some street flooding. Same thing tomorrow, some showers and storms Saturday afternoon, maybe even some Saturday morning. And then as we go into Sunday, we will finally start to see more of an isolated nature with these storms. So that's what we're going to be watching in Louisiana today and tomorrow with the flooding threat, primarily over in Lake Charles. I want to show you one of our models. It is spitting out some fairly high totals, and it's been fluctuating. This model is not nearly as aggressive as the earlier one, but it does show you that there is still a bullseye down towards Lake Charles, widespread 3 to 5 inches, isolated pockets of 5 to 9 inches, and maybe even a little bit higher in a few spots. So watching that closely. Elsewhere in the tropics, we are continuing to track a tropical wave. This one is further out in the Atlantic. It's actually still to the east of the Lesser Antilles and Barbados. You can see there's the Lesser Antilles. Once you cross that, that's the Caribbean. There's Puerto Rico. There's the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. It is a pretty robust wave, meaning it's producing a lot of showers and storms this morning, and it looks pretty good on satellite. But notice the chance of development, very, very low. It's not likely going to do much other than produce the showers and storms. The reason for that, when you look at the environment that this is moving into, this is the moisture. You could see the big pocket of moisture there in the kind of pink-purple color. And then if you look just north of that, what I've plotted here are the upper level winds. This you see here, that's an upper level low, and this is pretty common in June and July in this part of the Atlantic. We call it an upper level low because it's way up in the atmosphere, but it's still producing high wind shear, and that wind shear is going to be pushing on this tropical wave. There's also a lot of dry air under that upper level low, so that dry air is going to keep this, along with the wind shear, from blowing up into any storm. Now, it will still likely produce heavy rain and some gusty, squally conditions and gusty winds as we go into the weekend for Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic. You can see there that wave of moisture still traveling up towards Cuba by Monday. By Tuesday, it's into South Florida. But notice, we've still got lots of wind shear, dry air, so it will likely still just be a tropical wave, producing some enhanced moisture for some rain for South Florida Tuesday and into Wednesday. Now, what'll be interesting to see is, does this moisture get added to the northern Gulf Coast by the end of next week? Now, there's still going to be a lot of wind shear and dry air, so we're not expecting this to really develop, but it could enhance our rain chances towards the end of next week. Once again, just something we'll be keeping an eye on. So rounding this out for you, you can see there, yes, Tropical Storm Bonnie did form. It's in the southern Caribbean. It's heading into Nicaragua and Costa Rica later on tonight. It will make landfall there as a named storm. It will then cross into the Pacific, likely remain Bonnie, but this is not going to be an issue for the United States. And once again, the average second storm to form is usually July 16th, so we're a little ahead of schedule here with Tropical Storm Bonnie. The next name on the list is Colin, but right now we have no Colin on the horizon, although there's a couple tropical waves. It looks like the Atlantic Basin is going to turn a bit more hostile over the next week or two, and things are probably going to remain fairly quiet over the next week or two. So that does it for your Friday, July 1st tropical update. July, typically, not always a busy month, but sometimes things do ramp up, so we'll be keeping an eye on it for you. But I want to thank you so much for joining us here on this tropical discussion. Everyone have a safe weekend and have a great 4th of July weekend as well. Thanks so much for joining us.